Now, I want to give you a couple examples of organizations that I think are doing some pretty cool stuff in this area. The first one is Airbnb. If you ever get a chance to visit their offices, whether in the Bay Area or elsewhere, I highly recommend and encourage you to do it. Airbnb, I think, does perhaps the best job of creating that physical environment. If you walk into an Airbnb location, their headquarters in San Francisco, there are a couple fascinating things about their space. The first is that one of their values is belong anywhere. And this is physically manifested in Airbnb because their conference rooms are actually modeled after actual Airbnb listings that exist anywhere else in the world. So you get that sense and that feeling of belonging because they bring the entire world to you. One of the other really fascinating things about Airbnb is they treat their physical space like software. So with software, you have bugs, you test, you iterate, you develop, you kind of have this cycle. They treat their physical space the same way. They experiment with ideas, they tear things down, they build things up. They're continuously exploring and playing around with their physical environments to test it, just like you would a piece of software. So I think that's a really fascinating way for us to think about designing our physical spaces. The next organization that's doing some pretty cool stuff is Cisco. Cisco, many of you know, technology company. At Cisco, you do not have assigned seating. At some organizations, or some parts of Cisco you do, but they're in the process of rolling this out to the entire company. You do not have assigned seating. If you walk into a conference room at Cisco, the temperature, the lighting, and your contact information is automatically beamed down to whatever device is there. It knows who you are based on the badge that you have. The same thing when you go sit at a desk. Again, without assigned seating, you just come to a desk, you sit there, your contact information is there. It knows who you are.
Do you want to hear something really crazy? 96% of the people who watch videos on this channel are not subscribed. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. It'll literally take you 1 second, and you'll get notified when more videos just like this one are available. Now, let's get back to the content.
The bottom right there, that's a screenshot that I took from visiting their offices. They have these little kiosks inside their offices. You can look at that kiosk and find out which one of your coworkers are in the office and where they are, and it'll actually draw you a map to how to get to them. You can find restrooms on there. You can find cafeteria areas. You can see which spaces are available. So it's a smart office that knows who's in it, that knows how people are actually working there. Cisco's also experimenting with a lot of interesting things, such as, do employees have to have just one job here? Can we create our own internal freelance marketplace inside of our organizations? I've spent a lot of time writing and exploring that theme. Cisco's actually testing that out. Cisco also abandoned their annual reviews. They went over a year without having anything to replace it with. I'll repeat that. They went a year without having anything. Nothing. Woohoo! Yeah, there we go. So they made the decision they were going to get rid of the annual review. 3 days later, they sent out an email to the entire company, and they said, stop! We're not doing that anymore. Use your best judgment. Managers still have these conversations with employees. Don't fill out the paperwork. Don't stack rank anybody. Don't turn any of that stuff in. Just be a person. Just be a person. Be an adult. We trust you with it. They went for over a year without having anything in place. Nothing happened. People actually loved it. The third example I want to give you is Whirlpool. Now, when most people think about the future of work, they don't exactly think of refrigerators and toasters and blenders and home appliances. But Whirlpool's actually been doing some really cool things. So they spent tens of millions of dollars redesigning their physical spaces to create multiple modes of working. They've abolished all managerial titles in the favor of 4 leadership categories that everybody at Whirlpool fits into. A leader of self, a leader of team, a leader of function, and a leader of enterprise. If you work at Whirlpool, 80,000 employees, you're one of those 4. That's it. They got rid of all those other layers that they had. They also understood that a lot of their employees use Google, as we all do. And so they got rid of their legacy technology environment and shifted everything to Google. So now everybody inside of Whirlpool is using Google technology because they knew that that's what employees are familiar with. So I think that's a great example of an organization that is focusing on 3 areas: physical space, corporate culture, and the technology. Now, when we look at those 3 environments, a couple of organizations start to emerge. We have the empowered organizations, which focus on culture and technology. Engaged organizations, which focus on culture and the physical space. And then we have enabled organizations, which focus on technology and the physical environment. In the past, organizations focused on one of these three things. Today, I think a lot of organizations are focusing on two of these out of these three things. The future is about the experiential organization. It's on the organization that can focus on all three of those things. This is part of what I like to call the employee experience equation. Culture plus technology plus physical space equals employee experience. You can't focus on one, you can't focus on two, you have to focus on all three if you want to create that environment where employees truly want to show up. And this is ultimately what that process looks like. Design, participate, respond, analyze. The organization designs something, comes up with that concept, that theory it wants to test out, whether it's technology, annual review, physical space. Employees participate in what that is. They respond, they provide feedback. The organization analyzes that feedback for insight and designs again. This is the relationship we need to create between the organization and the employee. And ultimately, this begs the question of, how do we balance employee freedom with organizational control? Simple, transparency. You're not designing things for people, you are designing things with people. Be open and transparent with them. Let them know what you're working on, what the challenges are, what you're struggling with, what's being implemented, what was tested but failed. You can look at My Starbucks Idea as a great example. Google My Starbucks Idea, and you'll see that they have a public customer-facing portal that does all this sort of stuff. Now, ultimately, one of the key themes I want to leave you with is this concept of stop thinking of your organization like a factory and think of your organization like a laboratory. Factories are linear, they're rigid, they're status quo oriented. Laboratories are dynamic. Laboratories embrace failure, they test, they iterate. Think of your organizations more like laboratories and less like factories, and that will help you create these employee experiences. And ask yourselves, what kind of an employee experience do you want to create? What do you think the world would look like if all of our organizations focused on designing employee experiences? What do you think your organization would look like if it focused on designing employee experiences? And ask yourself, wouldn't you want to work at that kind of an organization?